What's up, y'all? We are back for my Astro Series segment, and for today, we are diving into the planet Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is actually one of my favorite planets to study, and that's because Jupiter is the planet of luck, expansion, wisdom, and of higher learning and giving. Jupiter is where we can find a person who really likes to look at the bright side of life, taking whatever life brings to them and really finding what is the deeper meaning. How can I expand my optimism and learn from this? And because of that mindset, people with a lot of Jupiterian energy, so a lot of Sag energy, as well as a little bit of Pisces energy, because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, it is also the co-ruler of Pisces. But people who have a lot of Jupiterian energy can really take things that are thrown at them and make gold from it. And because of that, they're able to have good luck in life. It's this idea of believing in a higher sense of purpose, a higher sense of power. And when you believe in that higher sense of power, you never know what gems you might find. So that's what makes Jupiterian people pretty lucky, is this belief in what if this can happen, and going through that what if and discovering something that they've never even thought could have existed. Wherever you find Jupiter is where you will find abundance, because Jupiter likes to expand, but it also likes to bring wisdom. And because of that, things come with time. When you're working with Jupiter energy, you have to be patient because the wisdom comes after time. But once that wisdom is acknowledged and used, there can be so much abundance and expansion depending on where you have Jupiter energy in your chart. Jupiter deals with the circulation of the blood and moving things, keeping things moving, keeping things expanding and opening. Now, the flip side of Jupiter is Jupiter can sometimes overexpand. And what happens when things don't have boundaries? Sometimes it can get out of control. So, for example, if you might have Venus and Jupiter relating to each other in the first house, so you'll have Venus and Jupiter in the first house, this could be a person who can be overindulgent in things, no boundaries in what they like to indulge in. And because the first house deals with your physical appearance, this can have an effect on how you physically begin to look because of your overindulgence in the pleasures of life. That being food. Wherever Jupiter is placed, it likes to bring optimism. And it's great to have optimism, but you also need to have work ethic. So having Jupiter, let's say maybe in the 6th house, which is the house of Virgo, can bring a person who can look on the bright side of possibilities happening. You know, what if I could take my work environment to this extent? What if I can have these habits that can bring me this much abundance in life, right? You're using that Jupiter energy to have the what if imagination, but also you're using the Virgo energy to be meticulous and have strong work ethics so that what if can happen. So Jupiter really needs to be balanced as well as have boundaries so that people can really reap the benefits of Jupiter. Jupiter likes to be in the 9th house, which is the house ruler of Sagittarius. And with Jupiter being in this 9th house, it's a person who enjoys travel, enjoys learning the philosophy of life, and enjoys teaching and giving back. Jupiter is also about how are we giving back to people, and how that works with abundance is the more you give, the more you receive back. So really try to focus on giving that gift, that energy that you have, not excessively, but giving back to the collective and to the community. And that's where you're going to reap more Jupiterian reward. I myself have Jupiter in my 5th house, which is the house of Leo, where you can find creative talents, creative expression, as well as just joy. So Jupiter really enjoys being in this 5th house as well, because it is about moving from the heart, moving from a place of love, giving, socializing, and just having a good time and using your creative talents to showcase it to the world. Wherever you'll find Jupiter, you will find a guru or a teacher, because Jupiter likes to take the wisdom that they've learned and teach it back so that other people can have this wisdom through their life and maybe not make the same mistakes. So let's say if you have Jupiter located in the 10th house. 10th house being the house where Capricorn is the sign ruler and where you can find public appearance. This is actually a pretty decent house for Jupiter to be in because it brings boundaries to Jupiter's energy, but it brings a public person that is probably a professor, probably a doctoral student, some or maybe even a preacher, someone who has like a public presence of teaching wisdom to the collective. As well as being a teacher, you have to be a student. So wherever we can find Jupiter, we're going to find a person who wants to build enlightenment in that area of their life. So if you maybe have Jupiter in the 8th house, it could be a person who wants to deeply study and understand the occult sciences, who wants to study astrology, who wants to study magic and mysticism, and who goes about it in a very intimate and kind of obsessive way, but deeply learning to find that enlightenment so that they can have abundance and give back to the public. All right, that's all we have today for the lovely planet of Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter feels the most at home in the 9th house as well as the 12th house. And it is the ruler of expansion, abundance, wisdom, luck, and teaching. My name is Sade, and next we are going to dive into the 10th house where we can find Capricorn and Saturn.